The Matara Indoor Art Exhibition has attracted 260 paintings from some of the region's top artists. 2 times winner David Middlebrook looks set to develop a big name for himself. His pastel and collage work, Lake Forms, won the highly competitive Open category. His oil painting, Dreaming Muse, won the Plum William Bowmore Scholarship Award. The Open Watercolour category went to Helen Coleman for Party in the North. The Open Work on Paper award to Susan Weaver for an untitled painting. But organisers were full of praise for many of the entries who didn't win.
Well, we're very happy with the exhibition and the number of entries that have been received, and I think the quality of the work is very high this year.
Across the street in Civic Park, the Matara Outdoor Exhibition has opened with 216 paintings in 3 categories, some showing a marked change of taste. Winner of the Senior Modern painting went to Over the Edge, Troubled Waters by John Wayne. Senior Modern Traditional painting, Shallow Waters at Swansea Flats to Maren Cork. And the Junior Modern category, Early Spring, went to Janina Kazaczynski. I'm Woody Lafitte for NBN News.
In announcing the changes today, the board's managing director, Paul Broad, said they follow a review of senior management aimed at streamlining decision-making and reducing costs. $500,000 a year will be saved by amalgamating the Director of Administration, Finance and Employee Relations. The Director of Operations and Deputy Managing Director become one, as do the Director of Services, Development and Support. As well, the regional officers will adopt responsibilities for water production and sewage treatment in the hope of improving customer relations.
It'll fit into the new structure in the sense that the one part will look after our customers, one part will be into our planning, and one part will be our services. And the long-term strategy is to have those services part of our businesses seen as business units, and they will have to compete with other sectors in the board and other sectors outside the board. For instance, we have our mechanical workshops and our plant hire. Those same services could be provided from outside the board. We happen to think that those services are very efficient within our organisation, and in the past we haven't had a formal mechanism to show whether or not they were competitive with the outside world. It's not only mechanical, you can think about our chemists, you can think about our electrical sections. We have some of the most skilled people in the region, and we wish to make it recognised that not only are they skilled, they run a very efficient, tight business within our organisation.
One of the most important of the changes announced today was the establishment of a new position, Manager of Environmental Policy.
It's absolutely crucial that we get the community involved in meeting those stringent goals of our environmental plan. His or her job will be to manage the environmental strategies within the organisation and have this interface with the customers to let them know what our environmental strategies are.
3 weeks ago, Hexham Engineering's 20 Federated Ironworkers Association members walked off the job. Members of the remaining 4 unions placed bans and limitations. The reason for the militant action was a forklift truck, which the company suddenly decided to stop hiring for $250 a week. The truck, one of 2 on the plant, was used for training purposes. In reply, FIA members offered to pool money to pay the hire fee themselves. According to Mark Stoker of the FIA, management refused, saying the plant was in serious financial strife and would simply have to undergo cutbacks. Mr. Stoker said as many as 100 staff had been laid off in recent weeks. He claimed that the plant's owner, Coal and Allied, would prefer to let the dispute draw out, so it would eventually be forced to close the factory. We were unable to substantiate that claim with plant management today because they refused to speak with us. Employees will meet in the morning. Mr. Stoker warned of escalated strike action and said more than likely pickets would be installed on the plant's gates by 9 o'clock.
But in this year's NBN Cameron Handicap, Don't Play was in brilliant form to blitz his rivals. And Don't Play should live up to that form, with his main dangers coming from another Queenslander, Cole Diesel, who has really grabbed the imagination of the Sydney race-going public, and the smart Victorian Vitalik has also got strong claims. So your numbers for the trifecta, 4, 3 and 2. For the daily double, Gary Harley feels that Don't Play will win the first leg and Tristan R the second leg. Champion Queenslander Vo Rogue will only have 4 opponents when he returns to Melbourne for tomorrow's JFVN Stakes. The Rogue should have little trouble in leading throughout, and the first prize of $162,000 will push his stake earnings past the $2.4 million mark. For the Moonee Valley trifecta, try 5, 4 and 1, Coyote God to beat Volcanic Ruler and Antico, and for the legs of the daily double, Coyote God in the first leg, which is race 7, and Lock Walk in the second leg, race 8. No TAB races in Newcastle tomorrow, horses or dogs, but they are racing at Cessnock Trotting Track tomorrow evening. For the legs of the daily double, you should couple Monique Time with Dicey Dealer, and for the trifecta, 8, 1 and 4, Dicey Dealer to beat Casey Mountain and Kentucky Grove.
One of the thousands of cars heading north on the Pacific Highway this morning was a Honda sedan being driven by 51-year-old Lindsay Tasker of Peakhurst. His 53-year-old wife Dorothy was in the front passenger's seat. They just passed the Buckets Way turnoff when in a split second a massive impact crushed the Honda, killing Mrs Tasker instantly and seriously injuring her husband. The Tasker's car had collided head-on with a rented Commodore being driven south on the highway by a 19-year-old Sydney woman. Somehow, possibly because the driver had gone to sleep, the Commodore had apparently strayed to the wrong side of the road, the head-on impact being taken on the left-hand front of both cars. The driver of the Commodore and her 26-year-old male passenger both suffered chest injuries but are in a stable condition. Mr Tasker's condition is described as serious but stable. The circumstances of the crash are being investigated by the Police Accident Investigation Squad. The accident resulted in a long bank-up of traffic on the highway. This tragic start to the holiday weekend underlines warnings being given by police, particularly warnings about driver fatigue. Police are again urging motorists to take advantage of driver reviver stops operating along major highways. Jim Sullivan reporting for NBN News.
"35 yachts from the Lake Macquarie Yacht Club and 38 game fishing boats lined up on the western side of the bridge waiting for the span to lift to give them access to the ocean. The sailboats were taking part in the annual Matara Cup, an ocean race from the Swansea Heads to Kooragang Island and back. Plenty of enthusiasts used the event as a warm-up to 2 days of intense competition. The remaining flotilla were heading out for the 15th annual Lake Macquarie game fishing tournament. There was plenty of spectacle on the water, and there was also plenty of frayed nerves on dried land. Motorists heading off to begin their long weekend break were held up while the bridge was raised to allow the tall-masted vessels through, leaving plenty of drivers less than impressed.
Not happy sitting here, that's for sure. If I knew this was going to happen, I'd probably stay in bed a little bit longer this morning.
Half an hour at least.
Well, it puts me down at least an hour and a half for the day, so there's an hour and a half downtime, so, you know, add it up for yourself. The main roads department, they just haven't done the job properly, have they? That's all I can put it down to.
Anything you'd like to say to the politicians regarding this bridge?
No, not a great deal. What I'd say wouldn't be worth publicising, I don't think.
However, not everyone was upset at the delay.
We're actually going to work at Vars Point Power Station, so we're being paid to sit here, so it's really not a problem.
Played rather well too, so Saturday morning.
Hundreds of people packed into Civic Park for the official opening of the festival that heralds the beginning of spring. The park was alive with people enjoying the warm sunshine, colour and spectacle. Newcastle Lord Mayor John McNaughton declared the festival open and wished organisers luck with the weather.
I now have a great deal of pleasure in formally declaring Matara for 1989 officially open.
For the next 10 days, Novocastrians will be invited to take in the arts, enjoy a bike ride in the countryside, learn to fly with the birdmen of Matara, or just enjoy the carnival atmosphere.
Waxing up their old surfboards, the surfers took to the water today to relive the great traditions of an era born in the 60s. Conditions were awkward with a messy 1.5 metre swell, but there is no stopping style when it comes to the masters of the Malibu. Newcastle's Roger Clements dominated, winning the two major finals, the Open and the 9-foot division, with a classy show of drop knee turns, walking the board and hanging five. According to Roger, competitions such as this are about bringing fun back into surfing.
It's pretty good in the longboard division. Like, there's not many guys that are really cutthroat. Like, if two people are paddling for a wave, they usually say, "Oh, you have it," or "You have it." They don't try and chop each other out like they do in the shortboards as much. It's a lot more friendly.
Long reef board rider and surfing legend Frank Latter won the Masters final, with Ray Gleave from the Gold Coast taking the old Malibu final. Longboard fanatics say more and more surfers are getting back into their longboard shorts to follow the sport where the spirit of good times is back in style. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The mating game at the horse starts at the Upper Hunter Valley is deadly serious stuff. From now until Christmas, thousands of the nation's most valuable broodmares will be adjusted at those studs to be served by some of racing's most glamorous and expensive stallions, standing at fees of anything from $1,000 to $160,000. So when the region became the flight path for squadrons of low-flying F-111s and FA-18s a couple of years ago, the response was panic in both the stud owners and trade tragically some of the horses. John Kelso of Warunga stud near Scone says the noise led almost certainly to the death of 5 horses before intensive lobbying to both the federal government and RAF base Williamtown saw the region declared noise sensitive and the jets begin to steer clear. But the stud owner's fears returned just a few weeks ago when several jets flew low and loud over the region at night, the busiest time for foaling mares. Any undue stress to a mare at that time could see her lose a foal, which even at birth was worth millions. The owner's fears were heightened when they heard the RAF was planning a war exercise later this month, based around the Liddell and Bayswater power stations, both in near proximity to the major studs. But today, Wing Commander Ross Kelly from RAF base Williamtown was quick to allay any fears, saying the stud area was already well known as a noise-sensitive zone and that all possible efforts had been made to ensure the exercise did not stray into the region.
Meanwhile, in the Newcastle region, police are more than happy with the latest crime figures. Armed hold-ups dropped from 69 offences in 1987-88 to 55 this year, a reduction of 20%. Chief Superintendent Russ Cook says the criminals are having second thoughts.
It's become an unfashionable type of offence simply because the offenders have been getting caught and as well as that they've been getting sent to jail.
Despite these strong words, only 39% of hold-ups were cleared up, a slight drop on last year's figures. As in Sydney, Newcastle police have recorded a staggering increase in arrests for offensive conduct and offensive language. More than 1,000 people were arrested this year, an increase of 87%.
There was a problem in the street with behaviour. Because there was a problem, we've put more police out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights when it's occurring, and obviously that will increase the number of arrests.
Hexham Engineering first became embroiled in industrial trouble 4 weeks ago when Federated Ironworkers Association members walked off the job in protest over the axing of a hired forklift truck. Last week, the action escalated when members of the remaining 5 unions joined them, striking 24 hours and installing pickets at the gate. Throughout, relations between the unions and management have been strained, to say the least. Meetings last Friday and again yesterday failed to achieve anything. So the rolling strikes have begun. Today it's our FIA and Stormont and Packers union members walk off the job for the afternoon. Tomorrow a different union will go out, and so on. Sometimes the stoppages will be half day, sometimes all day. Mark Stoker of the FIA said this afternoon urgent moves were being made to meet with the plant's owner, Colin Anide, in a desperate bid to reach a compromise. But General Manager Bill Nolan said this afternoon the dispute would be handled only by plant management. He did, however, admit that at this stage things are looking grim for Hexham Engineering. It's suffered a $2 million loss in productivity as a result of the dispute, and Mr Nolan said the chances of keeping it open under those sort of conditions are looking slimmer every day.
It was a small group of protesters that met Mr Shipp when he arrived at a function at Newcastle Racecourse. Led by the Newcastle Regional Tenants Council, the group presented the Minister with a petition calling for a moratorium on recent changes to housing policies. But their protest struck an angry chord with Mr Shipp.
Get your information right first before you start beefing up me.
At short notice, right, by thousands of people, right, all the signatures are here, we're discussing the policy of your party. There's a party of broken promises. You're on record when you address the State Council. Shut up a minute. Shut up. Now what, shut up? I'm telling you address the State Council of Public...
Mr Shipp refused to accept the petition. In anger, he kicked it. The Minister's uncompromising stand was foreshadowed earlier in the day when he ruled out any possibility of putting his new public housing policies on hold.
Not in the life, no. We are proceeding down a path which I believe is fair to the people who are in housing and who want to be housed, and we won't be deviating whatsoever.
The Housing Department's rationalisation program includes a plan to close a number of its district shop fronts. Mr Shipp responded to local concerns that the Toronto office may close by pleading ignorance.
Whether Toronto's on any list, I can't say. Merv Hunter tells me that it's not, according to his advice from the Newcastle office. I haven't worked through a list to get to that far yet.
But the Minister brought some good news for house hunters in the region in the form of a new low-interest housing package, a scheme designed to house more low-income earners. Leslie Robinson for NBN News.
For the first time, private enterprise and the state government have combined in the area of junior sport development. National discounter Norman Ross has pledged some $280,000 towards 3 schemes currently run by the Department of Sport and Recreation. They are the Vacation Learn to Swim program, the Talented Child in Sport program and the New South Wales Sports Scholarship Scheme. A television campaign has already begun with the famous 4, Norman May, Dawn Fraser, Darren Clark and Anne Sargent lending their names and voices to the campaign.
Their contributions will go directly to help New South Wales sport. New South Wales are the Blues and Norman Ross are the true blue discounters.
And now they're the true blue supporters of our state sport.
At the country launch in Newcastle today, champion weightlifter Greg Hayman and up-and-coming hunter-swimmer Craig Davidson were on hand with Norman May to add their support to the scheme, one which is bound to give much-needed help to a lot of youngsters.
Well, what we're trying to do is, A, teach people to swim is one scheme, but the other thing which is more general, which is in every sport, is trying to identify talent and encourage that talent to have opportunities. Look, we realised what was happening in the Olympic Games 10 years ago when the Soviets and the East Germans were having these huge schemes in their countries and producing Olympic champions. The Americans realised it after 1976, so did the British, and now we're realising it too, that we must have support from private enterprise. It's the only way we can have the money and facilities available to produce champions in our own country. And look what it does to our prestige. We've got an Olympic gold medalist. It's a terrific thing. This is the best scheme that's happened in New South Wales.
Anne Mullen from the Newcastle branch of the Department of Sport, Recreation and Racing says they are already receiving applications.
Well, the Vacation Learn to Swim will be during January, and as we've said, it's the largest Learn to Swim in the state, and those forms are available now through our office. The Sports Scholarship Scheme and the Talented Sports Program, application forms and information are available through the department at any time, so people can contact our office or come and visit our office, and we'd be only too happy to help them with information on any of the 3 activities.